marked it all off and I could.
Summer scrolling, it's like.
Here it is. There's quite a few people there.
The fix is right here.
It's
It's something out.
I don't know if you can see it. I have to turn this way here. Oh boy, turn this whole thing this way. It's a town hall. It's in the auditorium. I'm trying to get the.
He's airport won't stay in track and that's
Trying to get the. Let's see. Audio, video.
Collector's gotta be here.
you just bring your favorite exotic watercolor and shimmer stripes.
We can't, if you know what.
Let's see.
Oh, you know what I'm thinking?
Well,
See, turn it lighter on, okay?
what's that?
You should have a lick of one kind of faucet, it's the thing where everybody can vote for that.
Well, they're going to. They are. That's going to work up to that.
That's
You know?
$24.
No.
Right? Like a really big deal. I didn't.
No, in respect to what?
What's hilarious, the angry beaver that got picked up and literally the kid chucked it and they don't go in there. You know?
No.
You're a kid, how can a kid?
Oh,
And New Jersey, they don't. let 'em-
maybe they didn't know the beaver was there.
Leave them alone. What's-
Okay, can we come to order? Apparently not.
Yeah, I think. It's not here to be very loud.
Can you hear me? Good. All right. Now we can. All right. So thank you all for coming. Wait till you hear my guitar solo. So this is going to be obviously a rather interesting meeting tonight. We have a couple of public hearings we're going to hold a little bit later. We're going to start with a presentation, or we're going to approve minutes first, and then a couple of other bookkeeping things, and then we're going to start with a presentation about a potential planning for 115 Bear Hill Road, which from what I gather is why we put out extra chairs tonight. I will point out that this is a presentation to the commission. It is not yet a public hearing. So it's educational for all in attendance, but the only people who can speak are us and the people presenting, okay? I just want to make that clear. So that means outbursts are also not really appreciated, okay? But there will be a chance, there's obviously a lot of interest in this particular potential project. So we will give you all a chance, either at a public hearing or perhaps at an informational hearing before that, to vent or give us your views about how you would like to see this go. But right now, this is just for them to give us a glimpse of what it is they're planning and to explain it, okay? And that may answer some of your questions without you having to ask them. But that's the format for tonight. following that, there's a couple of applications that have been pending since the last meeting that we're going to go through, and you're welcome to stay for that too. But that's it. Now, I will ask that throughout this meeting, because it's a large room and because, you know, the sound doesn't always go well in a large room, there's a microphone during the public hearing phases of this meeting for people who wish to speak and address us. Please speak into the microphone. As you see, it has to be about 4 to 6 inches from your face when you speak into it. Otherwise, like this, that's not so good. Okay, so just make sure you speak into the mic. And with that, let's get the meeting to order. I call this meeting to order. Let's do a roll call. Start.
How do you make it louder?
Adam Carrington, regular member.
Steve Thornquist, Chair, regular member.
Nancy Held Sheehy, regular member and vice chair.
Bob Harrison, regular member.
Bradford Gupta, alternate.
Okay. So we have the 5 members. That's a quorum. First item of business is the review and approval of the prior meeting minutes. Has anyone has a chance to go through that? And are there any corrections?
Yes, here.
Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
I so move we accept the minutes of the last meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion, any corrections? No, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. It passes. They are accepted. I'm going to take, unless there's objection, I'm going to move slightly out of order. We have 2 bills to approve. One is the invoice which you have from April 2026 for Hiram Peck Services to the amount of $2,000. Is there a motion to accept that?
I move that we pay the April 2026 invoice of $2,000 for Hiram.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's seconded. Is there any discussion on it? All right, seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, it is approved. And we have our recording services for the public hearing portion of the meeting, which will come in a bit. That is for $150 from Donna Cahill at 29 Hubble Lane. And I would ask for a motion to approve payment for her services tonight.
To approve the payment of the services provided by Donna Cahill.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, okay. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? We're good. All right, now, that's all the bookkeeping stuff. I would ask our representatives from Anchor Star Properties to come forward and begin your presentation, if you would, please.
Well, for the record, I am Alan Shepard, professional engineer and partner in the firm of Nowakowski, Obeem John Kane, 415 Howe Avenue, Shelton, Connecticut. And what I just handed out was a smaller version. Oh, there we go. Okay. The smaller version of what? Okay. The smaller version, which is online, the on town. So we are.
This is displayed over here, if I'm not mistaken.
What's that?
This
Yeah,
is displayed over
and
behind the gentleman
it's
who's
up
sitting on the table.
Yes.
Okay.
So that, and I'm with Pete Olson and Billy Olson of Anchor Star Properties. So I'll let Pete and Bill go into what their background is building in a little bit. I want to keep tonight short, but because, you know, it's an overview kind of thing. So, and this is let the town just, you know, we want to talk to you guys. They bought the parcels that was known as part of the early farm and the young farm. So there's two parcels out there in back of 115. So 115 used to be the farm address.
Speak up a
Yeah.
little.
So
If you want to take it out and just hold it, that will work.
Yeah. So this was part of the, can you hear? Okay. Part of the early farm property. So as the people can see, they cut out a plot for the son, John Early's son in the front, and that's what that was. So this is the leftover land in the back. What we like to do is look at going forward with a incentive housing overlay. We think it's a good property for that. We preliminary looked at it, talked about it with the developer. The soils are great out there for septic and drainage. The site has rolling hills, which we would keep some of the fields open. So it really sets up for a cluster type of development. And then we'd like to do some different styles of housing, some mixed housing on the same property. So want to do some cluster, single family, a little bit of condos, and it has the breakdown on the map. 1 2-bedroom house, I just threw that in there, but we'll have a couple 4-bedroom houses with an in-law or they call the other word was a dwelling unit, you know, accessory dwelling unit by any other name. And then some condo buildings, 5 units like that people can buy. And some, we do want to have some rental apartments, but we're not talking great numbers here. So what we're trying to do is address the housing shortage and not fix the housing shortage. So by having some mixed parcels, I mean, mixed buildings. And when you drive down, they would kind of look like normal, regular residential buildings, but somebody would have apartments in. We would have some opportunity for people to buy some units. And that's down and back of the field. So when you drive by this property, you won't even know because of topographic relief and stuff that it's even there. So, and that's what we try to kind of showed with some of the photographs there, that once you get in there, you're in a whole nother world. You know, I think it's a great timely project that works with the incentive housing. And the whole idea is to have some different housing stock blended in together. So we're not like, you know what's going on in Connecticut. They, you know, we're not talking about 200 units here, you know, we're talking about 64 units. So
Please. Okay, remember the thing about no public comment? I will enforce that, okay? So please.
and I like to say, I think this is just a preliminary conceptual plan, but we nestled them in there what the property could support, you know, so what we did is we nestled the property in there what the property can support. You know, as you see on this map, there's a lot of green space around the property as a buffer. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what we're doing. And we're here to talk to the board to get some input, some comments.
So your plan would be to apply for the attainable housing overlay zone.
Correct.
Just want to get that clear. And you've got the mix of housing that you want here. Can you go into a little more description of, it's a total of 8 apartments, a total of 16 bedrooms, 8 two-bedroom apartments. Can you go into a little bit more of the definition of attainable housing in your mind?
Okay. So that is something, I have kids in Connecticut, so attainable is a tough thing. But to me, it's something that you can afford to purchase or have a rental start in Connecticut. So some of this, the condos would, they're not actually a full-size house, they can buy them. The apartments would be inside a building, so they'd be rentable, and so that's the idea with that. The definition of attainable for the single-family houses is up to discussion for that, because there is that's very variable in Connecticut, right? So and we recognize that. So our single-family parts can be more with accessory dwelling units. I'm not opposed to having some with bedrooms in them, because many years we did a lot of senior housing and we don't have things for the kids, But that definition is, that market will demand that, but the idea are these would be cheaper than building single-family houses on an acre-and-a-half lot, right? So they're more attainable than that.
So more of an entry-level thing or like a subsidized thing?
No, I think it's hard. The entry level would be the condos and the rental apartments, right? And we're not talking great numbers there. So we're not trying to fix the housing shortage, but we're just trying to do something for it. And I'm a big fan of the accessory units, because I think that's how families do it. I think it's going to be more popular, So, so if you have a house, a colonial in Bethany, you can sell that colonial and then move in with your kids. So you're helping out your kids. And then if you want to go to Florida in the wintertime, the kids could be in the main part of the house. I think that market is there for a lot of people.
So when you're describing an in-law on here, which I see.
Yeah, it's
two
an in-law or
specifically.
accessory dwelling.
So that would be a main house with an apartment attached?
Yes.
Okay, so those 2 units are specifically designed differently. That's what I wanted to find out what that meant. Okay.
Yes.
So are the 4 bedrooms included in that, or is it 4 bedrooms plus whatever the in-law would be?
It's probably going to be the 4 bedrooms with so 3 bedrooms in the in-law.
Okay, so 3 bedrooms and an in-law.
Yeah, that's
Right.
I think the
In
market is.
our zoning regulations, an accessory building is only 1 bedroom. No, it's up to 2 bedrooms, but less than 1,000 feet.
Yes, I think, and I think the developer's in agreement with that. We want a main owner of the property and then subservient rental parcel. And we think that works.
What will be the square footage of the single-family home?
I'll turn that over to the builder, Pete Olson.
We probably have 2 different models.
From the mic, please.
There'd probably be 2 different models. One would probably be around 2,700 square feet. One would be around 3,100 square feet. The 3 bedrooms would be 2,700 square feet.
So
the 4 bedroom
starter homes then.
Well, they'd be a lot more realistic than building, a 12 lot subdivision or a 15 lot subdivision with single houses. They'd be a lot cheaper than that.
And I guess for a multi-unit development, I'm sorry, for a multi-unit development, what experience have you had successfully developing a similar type of elsewhere in the state?
I've done one in Norwalk. I've done one in Norwalk.
How about in communities that have without any public sewers or public water supply? Have you done a similar development in
No, I
one
have
of
not
those
done
communities?
similar. I've done subdivisions, but not,
Okay.
yep.
Yes, pursuant to that, have you done any testing on the aquifer in this property to guarantee that it is going to provide adequate drinking water? You're looking at, like, from what I see on this, some 20 plus wells that you're going to be drilling. There are already people who live around this knob of rock who are also drilling wells, some fairly deep.
Mhm.
And they are understandably, I believe, and I'm just guessing this because no one's actually approached me about this, they're probably concerned that the aquifer will be maintained with that density of drawdown. Keep in mind that there are parts of Bethany where the wells have started to dry out at the very southern edge of Bethany.
I'll answer that. And the answer, we've done some boring tests on the property. In the back part of the property, we have 70 feet of sand and gravel. So it's a good property for on-site septics. And obviously the soil changes over the course of the property, you know, but we have done some boring tests on that. And that's one of the reasons why we're here tonight, to go forward, you know, what the concerns are. You know, we would do a hydraulic study of the aquifer to go to the next step. So those are the types of things that we're here for. And we, you
I'm
know,
also concerned about, because geology really, I'm sorry,
yes.
geology really dictates, you know, how successful it would be. And some of these wells are less than 50 feet apart. And when you bore down into bedrock, there's a significant chance of well interference, and without adequate distance between the wells, for not only for residents here, but also for residents in surrounding abutting properties as well. So,
Right. And
so you've
and
done some test bores?
we've done some test bores, yes. So, and as we go forward, that would be one of the things, you know, Pete has been around a long time. I've been around a long time, right? So we would do a report on the yield for the wells. And I want to say, the reason why we're coming forward, because we think this property sets up for this type of development that's in the regs. You know, it has all the attributes, the drainage and everything. As you could say, you know, this isn't our first rodeo here. You know, we know that these would be concerns, and we want to come in with those reports to address your concern.
We do appreciate that. Although, as you said, it's your first time without sewer and water.
Are each property going to be owned individually, and then there'll be an HOA fee for the common areas? And also, will there be any common activity center or community center? And if so, would you open that up to Bethany residents?
Okay, you want me to answer that? Except for the apartments, what we do for rental, and I do think you want to have some rental there, you're right. So, except for the apartments, this will be the occupant will own the properties, except for the accessory dwelling units, they'll be rented out. So most of the buildings will be owned by the person in the building. And then we're most likely looking at doing some sort of community function on the property. Some building that they could use for birthdays or stuff like that. The idea of putting it out to the public is probably, we would hesitate against that because it's just not a big enough property to do it for the public. So it would be private, just to the homeowners association.
Where would you foresee that going?
Towards the center of the, my gut feeling right now is towards the center of the property. In back of where we have the apartment buildings, or, you know, the that building.
Okay, behind the condos.
So there's a nice field there to put something in, and it's it's kind of central to all the project.
So there'll still be a common, there's still going to be a common management for the roads, the wells, the septic, et cetera. Because, you could have land disputes or
Yeah,
disputes.
what we have done, what I've done in the past is have lease lines. So everybody has a defined yard, but they're not property lines. They're just lease lines. And then you have the homeowners association coming in and take care of. So this is a project the town won't have to take care of the roads or the drainage or this septic system. So, there would be a management system to cut the lawns and stuff like that.
Let me ask one and then okay. So getting to the septic systems, they're mostly along the periphery, but there's at least one that's right near a very steep drop off. And have you done any testing to ensure that that's not going to leach out into that incline and down that slope?
That's part of the reports that we give you for the zone change. So that I've laid that out. I've laid that out based on my knowledge of the property. And I walked that property years ago with John Early, so that's part of the next step we would go to.
Can we go back to the wells?
And
I'm sorry.
because of the soils, I'm fairly confident. I'm fairly confident that we can get that in there, but that's what we will test before we get in. Come back to you.
Back to the wells again. If the test borings show that the land can't support the wells as proposed in the diagram, are there any plans to go ahead and do community wells to maintain the density, or would you spread the units out so that each individual unit could have a well?
My gut feeling now, when we're still early on in the process,
Right.
but is no, we would not do the community wells. And we'd say that you may have one or two houses sharing a well, but we would not do it as a public water supply. We're not going to create a public water supply here. The land will tell you what you could get out of it.
I just have one other question on septic. It appears that everything will be pumped to the leach fields. And what plans do you have in place in case there's power failure, which we experienced a lot here in Bethany? Are you planning to put in a generator, community-wide generator to support that? And who will be responsible for maintaining the leach fields, or will it be an HOA? How will that work?
Yep. It would be a homeowners association. And that would be a homeowners association, and we would have backup generators. So it's the how much of it will be gravity and how much would be pumped, I'm not sure yet. It's possible I can get some gravity out of there. But we'll decide that. But if we do go with pumps, we'll have the alternator pumps with the backup power.
If I may go on with a couple of things, you've got a single access road to a fairly large community. Are you sure that that will be adequate coming in and out of Bear Hill Road to avoid traffic hazards there? Because there's a lot of people going to be coming in and out between 8 and 9 a.m. and between 2 and 4 p.m. and then again at 5 to 6 p.m. You've got roughly 64, well, you got 64 units, but probably about 140 bedrooms. So that's a fair number of people coming in and out.
Yes, and we would do the traffic report. And a lot of these, what we do, and I haven't designed it yet, but it would probably be a boulevard where you go in one way and out the other way with an island in the middle.
Like a central divider.
Yeah.
And there's width for that in that access point?
Yes.
You might need a traffic study from the state because of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said they're private roads. HOA will take care of plowing and maintenance?
Yes.
Okay. And I assume with all the parking spaces that you're not planning on for on-street parking. You're talking parking
Correct.
space.
None of my projects, I believe in parking. I will put more parking in the town will let, you know, I do the math. I have kids. You need two people working and you need parking spaces for them.
Do you have any intention of putting a retention pond and or some kind of circle for fire suppression? Turnaround for ladder trucks or other emergency personnel?
So we have talked to the fire marshal and the water supply officer, and we will put in the fire tanks as required by the town. We're on board with that.
Again, you're on well only, so I mean, the water has to be.
We have to have tanks. Yeah, we have to have tanks. And we know about that. And then what was your other question, Karen?
Turnaround.
For,
That's why we got the loop system here. And I realized I got one dead end with a little, without a cul-de-sac there. And that would have to be, you know, I may have to modify that a little bit. But the idea is to have two.
you technically have two because your parking lot over here, if there's people parked in that, you won't have a turnaround.
Okay, yeah. So we would have to go through the fire marshal review and address those.
On that note, because of the density, the chances of fire spreading from building to building are much more likely in that setting. And I know there could be concerned about accessing. I know we're not involved with the fires, but safety is part of this whole discussion we're having. And there seems to be the central two buildings have a narrow driveway. How would fire equipment access the rears of some of those buildings? Maybe it's more of a question for the fire marshal, but I know there would be concerned about access to make sure they can get their equipment into the center of the property and not just have a turnaround as well.
Correct. And we recognize that Bethany isn't like some of the bigger fire departments and they have limited abilities for that. And that's why the scale and proportion of these buildings are like residential housing. We do have the condo buildings that, you know, but we didn't make them really long, you know, they're, you know, 5 and 6 unit max on the length of it. And we would plan to keep 3 sides of the building open so they can get access to it. So we're aware of that and we'll address that. We'll sit down with the fire department and go over that.
Are you planning like sprinkler systems in the larger buildings?
That may be something that they do. We haven't got that far yet.
Okay. Another question about, are you planning underground utilities?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And how about sidewalks? Are sidewalks part of it for the community?
We haven't got that far yet, but I think that could be something we put in there.
Okay. It appears that some of the buildings are on pretty steep slopes, especially the first part, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buildings in that left-hand turn. They're more than 25%, I would think, just by the map.
It's not horribly steep and we can handle that with a walkout on the low-hand side. So we would grade it off. We'd have a grading plan to show you that. I will lay out the road and everything, so we won't have a great deal of grading.
And I guess the other question I have, we may have addressed it before, but one retention pond for this entire
yes.
entire development, that seemed, how are you going to channel water between the buildings, water from one end of the property that slopes downhill without flooding the lower buildings to get to that retention pond?
It's a good question. So in the lower field, not where I got the septic, but in the lower field before the septics, that area would be the detention pond. So I'd make that field the detention pond. Now, you could make it into a garden or whatever, most of the year and whatever. You can have a ball field out there. It's going to be open and flat. And then I will take that and go into recharge galleries also into the sand and gravel there. So that I pitched the whole project to go into the field that we're going to keep open as a green space. And that will be my detention recharge area.
And what about the swales in between the buildings?
Yes,
That's
that
25
would
feet.
be, we'd have all the drainage and catch basins and everything designed for the project. Yeah.
With regard to the single-family homes, you do show a driveway going up to the two inner ones. Do you have, are there garages on the remaining homes? I don't see the driveway, so
Oh,
were they
there-
left off for convenience?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, these would have garages in them.
With the parking concept too. Thank you for specifically asking that. The drainage on the lower portion of this map, I can see how you can get to the detention pond from everywhere from that driveway up, but that all slopes down some fairly steeply into the road. Is there going to be a river coming into Bear Hill?
No, we'll drain that back into our property.
Okay, I saw another detention pond or?
Nope, that'll all be collected in the drainage system and go to the field.
From
The
down
grades will
there?
work out.
That slopes this way, doesn't it?
No, no,
It slopes this way.
yeah.
Okay.
It's fairly flat when we come in, but we'll pick that water and bring it back.
Okay. And then I had a question too, about if you could include in your proposal, when you do make it, if you do make it, some attempt to gauge a fiscal impact on the town in terms of traffic on the roads, increased school load, tax revenues, things like that. Just that would be helpful. And then if you can go into a little better definition at some point on how you view people can attain the housing, like is there going to be lottery for it? Are there income limits? Are there what are the gateways to get into it? And is there a cap on what you have before you can after, and then you can't, then you have to go to something else? Is that something you can discuss now, or is that something we should wait?
That we'll wait on, because we want to get a feel for what the town's looking for out there. And again, I'm not opposed to having school children, but you know, I've done a lot of these, you know, with their age restricted, and it looks good on the tax revenue. And on those short charts that you got, it looks great because again, the town's got all this tax money. But I feel in my heart that's not 100% what we should do if we want to have a community where people stay in town, right? So we're going to have to balance that out, what the developer can do and offer, because we want it to have a financially successful project too, and address those needs. Yeah. And so we would have a report, and we're kind of still in the air what those numbers would look like.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I am not particularly, I'm not either, I'm not child averse, nor am I
No,
saying we
right,
need
right.
to have thousands moving in.
Right.
My kids grew up here and went to school here, and I think that I should offer that option to other people too. But it is something we do need to think about.
Yes.
When we're looking, especially at a development of this size.
Yes.
And you say you have a development in Norwalk that you've built. Can you give us some examples of some of the buildings you've built so that we could see sort of what your aesthetic is that you're talking about? Because you said they will look like regular homes. What's your idea of a regular home?
I think also Pete will give you a list of some of the houses he built around the area, and you'll see their quality built home.
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
Sorry, what we'll try to do, if you can send us a permanent copy that we
Yep.
can put online so other people can see it.
This
because-
isn't, this is what I did in Norwalk. This is what I did in Norwalk.
Okay.
And this isn't you know, exactly what I'm going to do here,
I'm
but
not asking for what
Right.
exactly you're going to do here. I'm just asking
And-
for what have you done?
Yep. And what I have here is I have like a flex room, what you would call it. So if there was not an elderly couple, somebody like my age that wanted a master bedroom on the first floor, it's a master bedroom on the first floor. If it's a younger family, they could have the master bedroom on the second floor and convert that downstairs into like an office or something. So it can be used for a younger couple or an elderly couple without much change to the plan. The plan that you're looking at right now, that's the 2,700 square foot house.
What about them? Do you have ones for multiple units?
I do not have that one for the multiple units. I have the one, but we would make the multiple units look more like a house than an apartment.
This is still. Move that to the master suite, you're gonna have that after that.
You know, in their colonial style looking houses.
Right. This is the larger style?
Yeah. That one's about 30, 31. And you know, I grew up in the Woodbridge, not grew up, but I've lived there the last 20 something years. My kids grew up in Woodbridge. I probably built, I don't know, 50 or more houses in Woodbridge. I've probably built close to 100 houses in Orange. Built a couple in Bethany.
I mean, if you could just point us to a couple of those.
I did the subdivision off of Peck Hill Road, Eldersley Lane.
Yeah,
I-
they'll give you a list and you're free to talk to me on the parts.
So you'll give us a list and we're free to talk to you more.
Yep.
Just for everyone who couldn't hear that. I don't have any questions. Do you? Brad? I think you've answered pretty much the questions we have. I don't have more to ask right now, and it sounds like we have one more. Don't be sorry, that's what we're here for.
I guess I'm more concerned about the design of the larger buildings. How tall will they be?
We're going to plan to have those to meet the Bethany height requirements.
Okay.
There'll be no, because we realize the fire department's limited.
And since we have provided in our attainable housing overlay zone examples of not so much what are required and what are no-nos, but what are preferred versus what are not preferred. Have you taken a look at those and do those match with your aesthetic?
Yes. Yes, we have looked at him.
And this is in the preliminary stage. They'll have a couple of different. We're in the preliminary stage. We'll have a couple of different facades, a couple of different buildings normally these will have 5 or 6 different styles of buildings. That is similar in scale.
I mean, like most suburban developments, you pick a layout and some gable options, things like that. Yeah. All right. Well, I think, thank you very much for your time. We look forward to more information from you. I would ask, given as you see the audience here tonight, this is a bit large for our usual commission meeting. Would you be open to a public forum at some point just to hear from the locals?
I think that would be. I like that when that happens, right? Because we have a good plan here. We got a good property for it. So I think open format is good.
Okay,
So-
before a formal
Before a
hearing.
formal, before a
Yeah,
formal,
okay.
yes, yes.
All right, then. I think we're done. Thank you. And thank you for your presentation and for your time.
No, I'm not gonna try to touch it. Oh.
I do want to thank you all for listening to me and being very nice and civil. We're going to take a 5-minute break. For those who wish to leave now, you may. They were initially a little bit unruly. Yeah. You may want to bring some fire. You may want to bring some fire protection. Yeah. But no, I think they were very good. This was good. They were civil. They listened. And thank you for being forthcoming.
On the road at 7 a.m. Oh my God. And I have a pack and I'm just something already very, that's what I got it, I got a rental over. Bradley, yeah, I just been. Oh my God. I have a rental minivan. Oh, my daughter, I got to go to St. Louis. I think it's all. Yes, yeah, in the lights, yeah.
So stand up when we get into these, we're going to be discussing an old site plan and then some new zoning regulations. It's going into other business. I don't know. It depends on how fast. We have 2 public hearings, but I don't. This is fine. We heard what we said. Well, you're welcome to do this. So just wait for the time. And if we don't get a chance, send a letter to Kurt. Because we can't. Yeah, I don't know. It depends on how much controversy there is on. And then this is a new application. We basically have 2 or 3 questions. And then that is, we'll get it put on. You mean that
Our zoning laws are zoning laws. They require changes. And remember, they have so down to 830 feet, which is architecture. They have a carpet. There are, it's local control of this, sure, because what you can build. We can't go get it. You have a lot of water. We're not standing with issues, you know, you can't go. Well, you just turned it down. Oh, no, you guys are what they want to do the number. And honestly, that land is. Available, but that's really, I mean, it's. It's like, yeah, daughters. We're not in the, so I don't know. But yes, I mean, it's not. Yeah, again, we have, these people have been waiting for this. And I don't want to delay them any further because we've already delayed. I want to get that. Yeah. I do. I live on Berkeley Road as well. I know Adam Groves. I also know Peter, you got, I have to borrow train, I never saw this good family, single family, very rich. That's very good. It won't be here, it depends on the. But I think some looks to him, I'm concerned that. Commercial, the local, like this also, it's for him, that's how I know. My concern is that, that's the most.
That one doesn't work. Okay, everyone. If you're here, if you're just discussing the previous item, please take it elsewhere. If you're here for one of the two public hearings, please come forward. Our top story tonight. All right, so people, if you're just discussing the Bear Hill development, please go up. If you are here for Emerald Lane. or
Test,
Sperry
test,
Road,
test.
Can you hear me, Stephanie? Stephanie, can you hear me?
They have.
All right. Thank you all for being civil. I appreciate it. But please, we have other business and it's not fair to them. So if you're here for Sperry Road and Emerald Lane, you're in luck. We're about to start. If you're here to talk about Bear Hill, please do it elsewhere. All right. So our next item of business, we'll call it back to order. We're out of recess now. Are we on Zoom? Okay. All right. So our next item of business is the first public hearing for tonight, which is the application from Jennifer Kravinskas at 12 Emerald Lane. It's an R65 zone. MBL number 107/27-14. And the application is a special permit for an accessory apartment. We had opened a public hearing for this at our previous meeting, 2 meetings ago. And we recessed it to get input from the Inland Wetlands Commission. Inland and Wetlands has assessed it, and they have no problem with the plan as presented to them, which is different than the plan that was initially presented to us 2 meetings ago. Instead of a 3-car garage with an accessory apartment over, the new application is a 1-car garage at the end of an accessory apartment, all on 1 floor, on the same footprint, however. So it does not expand the footprint, nor does it expand the coverage of drainable area. That is to say, it doesn't increase the drainage area.
Use myself.
Yes. So Brad, we're going to seat you on this. Is there a motion to seat Brad for this hearing?
I move to seat Brad for this hearing.
This is the first time we're discussing this, right? Because I wasn't at the last meeting, so I just want.
This is the first time we're discussing this site
Okay.
plan.
All right.
It was a different site plan last time.
Okay.
And so let's take a vote to seat Brad. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay? All right, Brad, you're seated. So now we have a 5-person commission again. And yes, Karen left because she is recused. All right, so will the applicant please come forward? And please use the microphone. You have to get close.
Please use, yes, okay. My name is William Scott. I'm also the owner of 12 Emerald Lane. And you are correct. We did make some changes to the plan. It does have the same foundation. The setbacks are the same. We just decided that it would be a little safer for my parents to be on the ground level rather than have stairs. Other than that, everything's the same. So I don't know that there's anything else that we can say. And the wetlands they approved it.
Mhm.
And I think that's all.
Yeah, wetlands was the only hold, as I.
Yeah, that was the holdback, right? We
I
got to
looked
make
at
sure
the
that.
new site plan, which as you say is different.
Yeah,
It's very similar to the other plan and
Yeah.
floor layout, except you only have the 1-car garage at the end.
yeah.
I know, I've seen it online too. I haven't. Do you want to look at it? Yes. Right. And so the only other question, I guess, so your parents are okay with going up 5 steps instead of 12?
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. And
And of course, prices have gone up this year.
just
so
a bit, yeah.
Going to help with
So
my budget a little better.
Okay, are there any questions from anyone on the committee? Kurt, do you have any comment?
No, I don't. You could invite.
Right. No, I will get to that. I just wanted to make sure you had no comments. Hiram, any comments? All right. Is there any comment from the public?
My name is Karen Baldwin Kravitz. My work address is 195 Church Street, New Haven. I'm an attorney and I'm here on behalf of Maria Chica Guierco, who lives at 66 Schaefer, which is also 2 Emerald. So it's right on the corner of Emerald and it abuts basically the side property line of 12 Emerald. 12 Emerald is her backyard. So she has lived there 20 plus years. During the last several years, there have been 3 homes built kind of across the street, up on the hill, and on the other side that are all above in elevation. And so she has started noticing over the years water problems in her backyard. In addition to that, 12 Emerald has done a number of smaller projects which have also contributed to the increased flow in her backyard. The first was paving their driveway. The second was a shed was put actually within the setback that's still there. And a packed gravel driveway was made to the shed. So that basically ran parallel further from the driveway to her property line within the setback. And then the last thing they have done recently was add substantial amounts of topsoil to their backyard. So their backyard is now higher than hers when previously it was level. So over the last several years, her backyard, which was all nice green grass, has become some dead grass and moss, and I have photographs to show you. And in addition to that, water has started flowing and ponding from the neighboring property onto her property, creating kind of undulations in her backyard, and also getting as close as 10 feet to her house with pooling and ponding water. So she's very concerned, and she's very concerned that this whole addition is going to add, I think it's around 1,300 square feet, if I figured correctly, that it's going to making a foundation there that's, again, perfectly parallel with her property line, is going to add that much more impervious surface, that much more roof runoff, which is going to go directly into her yard. And she's concerned that she will have flooding in her house. So I have a statement that I submitted. I have copies of it. I don't know, I submitted it. I don't know if you were able to get it to them. And I also have some photographs. I'd
I'm
like
sorry,
to-
you have submitted what? I didn't hear that.
a statement.
No, I don't. Do we have that?
That's, it was like 4 o'clock today, so it's,
Oh.
yeah. That's why I brought copies. And I also have some photographs I'd like to share.
Yes.
Okay, so just, I'll provide these, but the first photograph actually shows the ponding water, which is right off of her back deck. This is how close it's gotten to the house. There's a stream bed that kind of runs through the property line that is generally dry or looks dry, but it has the function of absorbing runoff. And it used to perform that function. It's no longer able to. When it rains, that becomes saturated and the water just comes directly into her yard. And then there's a photo that shows how the backyard is moss and dead grass. Can I provide this?
Yes.
Okay.
And your name again is Karen Baldwin Kravitz?
Yes. So basically, under the special permit requirements, as I know you all are well aware, that you need to determine that there's nothing objectionable to area residents, that no adverse effect will result from this, particularly with respect to property values of area residents. and that there's no deleterious impact to irretrievable environmental resources. So we're basically just asking, basically everything that's been done to date, a remedy is already needed for that. There's a drainage remedy that's already needed for her backyard, and adding this addition is going to exponentially increase that problem.
Do you have studies or flow studies that would verify that?
No. But we also believe that the attention that the applicant who has the burden has paid to runoff with respect to this is not adequate. And it would be unfair, I think, for Ms. Gierko to have to pay for an expert. She will if she has to, but I think that would be unfair in light of the fact that the applicant, it appears, has really not done any investigation about the effect that the runoff from this extra roof will have on the neighboring property.
I have a recommendation for you when you're ready.
Okay, hang on one second. Because, I mean, wetlands looked at this proposal and felt that there was no significant issue with it. And they do consider water flows and runoff when they make those determinations. So you're saying that was incorrect. You mentioned other properties that have increased problems with her property?
No, just the fact that houses were built above elevation that just, I think, contribute to the runoff generally that comes to her. She's basically at the low point and now a neighborhood of 5 houses that used to be 1.
Yeah, but I cannot hold this property owner
No, that's
responsible for those other
more
properties.
background
Yeah.
information to just say the effect that this additional addition will have on her backyard.
Okay.
Did the,
You'd like me to?
Yes.
Question.
I had a question for Attorney Kravitz.
Yes.
Let's ask that first, and then maybe we'd be more efficient.
Yes.
The houses that were built, the 3 other houses that were built probably sometime in the last 10, 15 years, I'm thinking.
I would say last 10 years.
Did the runoff problem start at that point, or was it only after you mentioned some modifications that were made to 12 Emerald?
Yeah, I think the most problems have happened in the last 3 to 4 years, is my understanding. So it's hard for her to really say whether it's increased runoff from the houses or the paving of the driveway or the gravel or the raising of the backyard. You know, it's just been a cumulative effect that has come to now within 10 feet of her house. You have to come up and give your.
Hello, I'm Marcika Gierko's daughter. I live in Woodbridge, but have been with my mom 4 years now. I've been familiar with the house, have been visiting. I'm very familiar with the situation as well. And there's been some concern in terms of how the wetland situation was considered, because according to my mom, no one even visited her property or the neighbors until she made a phone call. So it seems like her situation, current situation, was never taken into consideration. No one has reached out to her to find out how this project could impact her property, because it's been, I believe you asked just a few minutes ago, what kind of proof we have. She has puddles, she has lakes in her backyard. That is the proof or so.
Are the puddles there all the time, or is it just after a heavy rain?
It is, well, the landscape has changed for all the time. She used to have nice, dry land, and now permanently half of it is moss or just nothing on it. And then additionally, when it rains, there are puddles that's remained there for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm happy to address any other questions that, my mom just had eye surgery yesterday.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said, I'm happy to address any additional questions. My mom had eye surgery yesterday and couldn't be here.
Oh, good luck to
today.
her. Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm a retired eye surgeon, so.
Oh, nice.
This one photo, can you possibly show us where this photo is on her property?
Yes, this is the back of her property, between her property line and the shed. They recently,
So the building in the back of that photo is the shed on the other property?
correct.
Okay.
And you can see the land is dry around, the leaves, everything is dry around that. That's just a puddle that sits there.
I'm going to ask this gentleman to comment, if I may.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The shed is on the plot plan. And I believe the shed, even though it is within the 50-foot setback, there's different setbacks rules for sheds. If it makes anybody feel better, I can move it to the other side of the property. That's one solution to that. As far as the gravel driveway has been in place since 2007 when we bought the property, because that's one of the first things I did was add a complete gravel driveway, because the homeowner that owned it previously hadn't lived in the house for 7 or 8 months. So the driveway basically grassed over. So that was one of the first things that I did when we bought the property. As far as the topsoil backfill, I think we all know what happened in 2018 on Schaefer Road with the tornado touching down. The tornado touched down in my backyard and I lost 14 trees. So basically what I was doing was filling the stump holes that had gotten filled in. And I know the hole in the water area that she's referring to behind my shed. I believe that's where one of the stumps was that got pulled. And it's right there on the property line. So I just pulled the stump. No, I know. I'm saying that the tree fell over and landed on my property. And when we did the cleanup, that was one of the trees that needed to get cleaned up. And there's still, because I couldn't afford to have all the logs hauled off. What happened was I lost I think it was 7 or 8 pin oak trees that were over 100 feet tall. Don't know how either one of them didn't land on my house or her house. Luckily, the lumber yard took the oak trees because they needed them for lumber. So that helped with the expense of cleaning up the mess. So yeah, there was some damage that I had to take care of as far as the topsoil goes. As far as the water in the last couple of years, I agree, there has been more water in the last couple of years. But when was the last time we had, 25 inches of snow? And then as it was melting in March, we had 6 inches of rain. It was the night of the March 6th meeting, I believe, when we had all that rain. So yeah, there is rain, and there has been puddles. I can't attest to what the houses across the way have done. But again, I think those homes probably had to go through the same procedure that I'm having to go through to get approval. So I don't, I can't say anything to those if they added to the water problem or not. That's not. And as far as my driveway goes, if you look at the elevations from my garage to Emerald Lane, the water flows downhill to Emerald Lane. So the water from the driveway doesn't flow to that yard. I mean, it's in the numbers. It's not possible.
Take a look at this.
And also, if you look at the elevations.
That's what I was going to look at.
Yeah. So the existing garage slab is 200 feet.
It's 198.
198.
That's not a huge slope.
No, it's not a huge slope. The back of the proposed addition is 198. My yard sloped that way. It's 197 to this side.
It's 201.
Is that 201 there?
197.
197 there. Okay. All right. So I'm reading it backwards because I'm upside down. If you would like, once the foundation is backfilled, we can have another plot plan done and make sure that the slope is going towards this corner rather than this corner.
We would fill this area.
No, that makes not this area, from the corner of
So the drainage from the,
from the proposed foundation and the drainage from the new addition can be drained the other direction. And that's a simple problem, you know, it just has to, because there's gonna be plenty of material that comes out of here for us to reshape the backyard to go the other direction.
pump in here.
Yeah,
All right,
and again, the shed can be moved, that's not a problem.
okay. But you have gravel going to that shed.
Yeah, there is gravel going, so the end of the pavement is here. And then, yeah, I'm sorry.
So what he has proposed, without us having to ask it, is when he builds this, there will be some removal and excavation, which he can then use to essentially put a very shallow berm there to direct the drainage away from her lot into the other side of his lot. So, and he's offered that as an option. If he said if the shed's really an issue, he'll move it, although I don't see that the shed is contributing significantly to any water runoff.
No, I mean, it was more the point that it was the packed gravel driveway from the end of the paved driveway to the shed that we thought was contributing to the lack of sufficient pervious surface.
That has been there since 2007, according to.
Not the gravel driveway to the shed, no. That, oh, okay.
So that has not changed in 2 to 3 years where the water, so again, and I'm trying to be fair to both people here.
Yeah, no,
but-
I appreciate that. That was my understanding. So you have.
There's 2007. The only gravel is rock.
Gravel extended all, that's why the shed is, especially because it's already gravel there.
So he says the gravel pre-existed the shed.
And it does, if I don't put weed killer, it does grow grass. But again, gravel is perfect.
Yeah, gravel is a permeable surface, yes.
Creates a leaching environment.
Mhm.
And that was one of the reasons why the wetlands department didn't want me to put gutters on the house. My house currently doesn't have gutters. Because there's not enough elevation drop. If you put a gutter, then you have a significant puddle of water in the area. As it stands, my roof drains into our flower beds in the front. If we add gutters to the addition, that's gonna create a problem of centralized source of water coming in.
There is one, I have pictures.
Okay, so I appreciate him offering to do some additional work to make sure that the water flows away from her property. I'm still concerned about the roof, the additional 1,300 square feet of roof, half of which I think will be pitched toward her property, if I'm looking at the pictures correctly. So even though I understand what he's saying about not having a gutter so it dumps into one place, is it possible to have a gutter that goes into a catch basin of some sort?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
You might.
I have the minute of Inland Wetlands Commission.
Yes, I was looking for that.
Part of this one.
Uh-huh.
But the commission, Inland Wetlands Commission did their due diligence. All you got to see was that it was approved.
Right. No, I do.
You might want to glance at those conditions that they've placed. And with all due respect, because I met with both the client and their mom. I thoroughly investigated and walked the property. She does have an issue with wetlands on her property. I'm not a soil scientist, but I don't know that this particular property has anything to do with the conditions that exist on the neighboring property. I think there are other underlying issues. So I would urge you to allow the Wetlands Commission and their decision to deal wetlands issues, you deal with the planning and zoning issues. Again, with all due. But
Thank you.
You're going into areas that have already settled by the Wetlands Commission.
Thank you for that input. Hiram, you had a comment?
Do, I think the fact that the statement that's submitted by the neighbor, is important. And regardless of whether the shed can be moved, or topography can be changed or whatever, what I would recommend, number one, is to continue the matter to the next meeting, as long as the applicant agrees to that. And secondly, ask the town engineer to take a look at the site and meet with all parties at the site on a specific date, so that they can talk about exactly what the issues are, and have him give, or her, give the commission a brief statement as to what needs to be done, if anything, with regard to making decisions. I think if the commission makes a decision without certain things being done, or maps being changed, sheds being moved, or whatever, I suggest to you that that's probably a little, my suggest would be to have the town engineer take a look at it, give the commission a statement, decision. That would be a reasonable resolution to the ICE.
Thank you.
Comment? Yeah, from you.
Just, we have to be careful on the dates. If the applicant, not certain is.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a bag of 65 days, Kurt. If he agrees to allow the extension to the next meeting.
That's what I'm just trying to figure out, when is here open, and
It opens at the February meeting, or at the March meeting, which was March 6th. And then we didn't discuss it at the March 31st/April 1st meeting, which was moved to March 31st because of Passover.
as the applicant to, or.
No, we didn't discuss it at the March 31st meeting because we were waiting for inland wetlands.
And at minimum, have 35 days after wetlands makes their decision to make yours. In addition to that, the applicant has a bag of 65 days that he can give to the commission if he grants it.
And the Wetlands Commission made their decision on April 20th and was communicated to us via memo that was printed today. So we do have 35 days yet, just from that standpoint, in which case we can.
Question is the hearing.
Yes.
Extending the hearing.
Yes, because the hearing has to be completed within 65 days of its opening. It was opened March 6th. April 1st, this is. Yeah.
Extension.
Yeah, he would need to agree.
That would give everybody the opportunity to get whatever their issues are on the table and decide clearly.
There's been we've had 3 public hearings. Of my 6 abutters, there's only been 1 complainant, and I fully understand. I've more than cooperated with what needs to be done. The Wetlands Commission already looked at it. I followed the rules. I don't agree to an extension. It's a 900 square foot addition.
It's your right to not agree.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I guess it's my right to not agree to it, but we just had a meeting where we were humoring 64 apartments being put in the town of Bethany. And here I am, just a homeowner, trying to help my parents. You know, I know we're both trying to help our elderly parents. I'm not looking
And
for
I'm
an
trying
argument.
to play Solomon here, so
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're just trying to.
Make a comment, Mr. Chairman, that you might not know. I would just tell you, I don't care one way or the other what the commission votes to. My suggestion to you for benefit would be to grant the extension. If you don't, then the commission's gonna have to make a decision, pro or con, with regard to the information that's in front of them.
I don't really want to kick the can down the road any farther. Go ahead and take a vote, and it is what it is, because.
Sir, they have to close the public hearing. They have 35 days to make a decision.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
No further information can be presented to the commission.
Yeah, that's.
Unless staff submits information.
You could take it from the town engineer. I think you need to be careful about other people interfering or commenting on that. So it gets a little.
Yeah.
Well, if you close the public hearing, prior to closing the public hearing, you could ask staff for certain information. We can't give you new information.
Right.
You know, I can't do another investigation or such, but,
So then it would not be inappropriate to move to close the hearing and request
staff,
input from the town engineer on the property.
well, our town engineer is not on call. This would be, an expense that we would incur, the town would incur, which we would have to get permission. We don't have an on-call, we have an on-call,
Town planner.
planner and zoning and wetlands officer, but not the engineer.
And the town would be on the hook for paying for that, or the applicant would? The town would, right?
Ultimately, the town would.
So this isn't a situation where, when, I thought we had some rule where if experts are needed, the applicant has to pay the cost of those. No, I'm imagining that.
Yeah, I think that is probably a process that would take place in the middle of a process, probably let them know ahead of time that a third-party review is needed. Honestly, I can't see it's gonna take more than an hour to go there and look at it, but that's just me. But you're right, Mr. Chairman, you certainly could close the hearing and you have 35 days to make your decision.
I inspected the property. I took a thorough walk. And I can report as the wetlands officer, as the zoning officer. Yeah, I'm not a soil scientist, but I know what I observed, and the fact that I'm a certified wetlands officer, I know that sometimes wetland areas change. A simple rainstorm change the flow and change a wetland area. It happens frequently. Some areas are dewatered, others are then introduced, wetlands are introduced, and it changes the flow, water flow, the wetland pattern, so to speak. And that's kind of what I observed on this property. There is a major wetland adjacent to their property, and part of their property is in that wetland area. Across the street is a major swamp, a major wetland. So there are times that this would absolutely change.
Across Sperry, you mean?
Yeah, across Sperry and on.
Schaefer, I'm sorry. I said Sperry's the next one. Sorry, I'm confused. Across Schaefer.
What is it?
Schaefer and Emerald.
It's on the corner of Schaefer and Emerald.
And Emerald. So across Schaefer is a major wetland area. And this is all part of that wetland corridor. And their property is part of it.
Fair enough.
Due to landscape impacts the wetland and flow of the water, and that has been part of the public.
And the Wetlands Commission thoroughly considered all of this information, made their determination, and I would say that there are very qualified people on that commission, especially the chairman. And that's why they do conditions, as far as downspouts and the other. Quite honestly, I don't know if bringing the town engineer onto the site is going to change the decision of the Wetlands Commission.
Well, I think the decision before us tonight is whether or not to close the hearing now. We cannot extend it. He doesn't want to, and that's his right. So I will move to adjourn the hearing, and we will make a formal recommendation at our next meeting, in which we can do in 35 days.
Yeah, you have to.
Within 35 days. So that's,
Anytime if you request a staff report, I'd be happy.
all right.
Request it before you close the public hearing.
All right. So I will request a report from you. And then we will close the meeting, the hearing. Is there a second on the motion to close after the report, after requesting the report? Seconded. All those in favor, is there any discussion on closing? Are we fine? All those in favor of closing the hearing?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, then the hearing is done, and you'll have your report at our next meeting. Okay, a recommendation? Sorry, it's how the clock works here. It's just. Mhm. No. Sorry. And that we already have, yeah.
Do you want to?
I have a copy of that. Mhm. Thank you for the asking. All right, and we will move on to our next item, public hearing number 2, the application of 26-1Z, 21 Sperry Road. Applicant is Stephanie Swantek. It's an R130 zone, MBL 126/17. Application is a special permit submission for a professional home office community center under 5.4H because it's kind of none of the above and all of the above. And H is the one that allows us to do similar activities to those already deemed acceptable. And you came before us once before to present what you plan to do, and you have, and we had some requests, and you have met. I didn't see something from the fire marshal though, so I'm going to let you speak. Go ahead, speak.
Yeah, fire marshal came out last week, and he approved.
Okay, do we have documentation of that?
From the fire marshal?
From the fire marshal?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I missed that. I went through everything else. All right, I did see the QVHD thing on the septic, thank you. So do you have anything more to say to us tonight?
So thank you for the question. I do not know.
It was, there was.
Mr. Chairman, I believe you've requested some sort of a parking plan.
Yes, there is a photograph submitted with a number of slots marked off on it, which I took to be a parking plan.
Yes.
Okay. And is there any discussion, any questions you have? Okay, yes, you're back and seated.
Yeah.
And so I guess that makes you an alternate again, Brad, sorry.
I'm back.
Huh?
I'm back.
You're back?
Seated again?
No, she's seated now.
Oh, no, yeah, no, I saw that. Okay.
Also, thank you for the business proposal. That really helps because that was another issue.
Yes.
We had to get a clear understanding of the business plan. So that very helpful as well.
Yeah, that was helpful. Thank you. You mentioned you're not having any formal teaching, and yet you do talk about mommy and me, education. I mean, how is that going to be conducted? Is that formal classes or?
So I'm a clinical social worker by trade. I'm licensed, so that would be myself.
Oh, okay.
So I don't use the word like a lot of, I did put word teacher, but again, I kind of play between educator, teacher, but yes, education, social emotional, parenting, conversations, resources.
And the format's kind of like a subscription service?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a blend. So it's gonna be membership, yes. So we'll have consistent people. So again, kind of creating a co-op community feel, as well as people that can just come for a series of sign-up classes. Maybe that's seasonal, etc. But it'll be a mix. But the intention is to create consistency, and so consistent supports for parents.
And I think you mentioned it last time, but I can't remember what you said. What's your idea of the maximum occupancy at any given time?
So after speaking with health department, they average 30 to 40 people per day is what the space can support.
30 to 40?
Yes, an average.
How many parking spots were?
Yeah, how many parking spots?
Those
There's
30 to 40
20
people wouldn't, sorry, they wouldn't all be there at the same time though.
No, and that's what I'm saying. It's a rate.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Maximum at one time.
Yeah, the occupancy is 30 to 40 people.
Okay,
Yes.
that is, the space can hold that.
But the parking spaces which we provided, we put 20. It can be more in there, but yes. And then we also have an inside barn, but that's not the intention. That's the occupancy which the space can hold.
So what is your intended maximum?
Yeah, so a class, so if we have like little kids, like again, I'm focusing on 2 to 5 year olds. So max occupancy for the kids would be like 10 kids max, right? Like 2 educators teaching that class, like a mommy and me, like 6 moms, their kids. Yeah, so again, it could be like 20, 15, 20 people.
Okay, because if you have 20 spaces and 40 people show up, because you have 40 max on your capacity, are they going to be parking on the street?
So I did put in that business plan as well, how we are going to do crowd control, which is basically apps, people checking in as well as reserving. So that is a way to control who's there, when they're coming, when they know it's.
So the
at
app
capacity.
will update in real time that
Correct.
this class is closed, you cannot
You
come.
got it.
All right, what if they come anyway?
Then they'll be turned away at capacity.
I was wondering how it's going to be enforced.
Yeah.
All right, other questions? Any comment from this is a public hearing, so any comment? Now, you did have some testimonials last time. There were like 5 or 6 letters submitted, if I was.
Yeah, there's like 12 signatures and then, yeah, several letters.
All right, then. We have what we need. And thank you for providing the stuff we asked for. I appreciate that. All right. So I guess we'll close the hearing.
Make a motion that we close this public hearing.
All right. All right. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? All right, then it's closed, and we will we will make the decision at the next meeting like we did with the previous hearing. Okay? But it's got to be, it'll be the next hearing, because then that won't be a public hearing. So, and sorry we made you wait so long. Well, no, it wasn't clear how long that first thing was going to take, but you saw the room. I needed to get that taken care of. Yeah. So thank you. All right. And then we have a new application, 26-1 SP, which is a 49 Hamilton Drive in R65 zone, MBL 113/64A. It's a special permit submission for an accessory apartment. Is the applicant here? Anyone to present this?
Just set a date.
Just set a date, which is next time. All right, that will have a hearing because it requires a hearing for a special permit. And that hearing will be at our next meeting, which will be June 3rd. All right. Other business. A review of the site plan for 636 Amity Road to affirm compliance with applicable regulations. Is the applicant here?
No, sir.
All right.
I am here. This was at my request.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, I received an inquiry.
Can you speak into one of the
Yes.
microphones? This is not a public hearing, so if you need to go, you may go.
Great.
Thank you.
There was an application received in October of 2025 for a building in the B&I zone at 636 Amity Road. A site plan was presented. A zoning permit was signed and approved. And the building is under construction. However, there are no minutes that show that this commission officially voted on it. I've thoroughly checked out the site plan. I believe the commission in some way reviewed this. You have to understand you were very understaffed at that point.
Yes.
And the vice chairman will certainly concur. But there is a set of plans. And again, the building is under construction because a permit was granted, but this commission never officially
Approved the site plan. Voted. There's no record of the vote to approve
Right.
the site plan.
So this evening, what I'm requesting, and we spoke to the town attorney, is that you affirm that this was reviewed properly and you affirm and confirm that that meets the requirements. And we put it on the record.
Well, is the site plan you're presenting what was pretty, our list to review online?
I'm not certain. this predates my employment here.
Next meeting.
This site plan is the same site plan that existed in October. It hasn't changed.
Okay. And that's what we're reviewing online here.
Yes, and during the absence of a zoning enforcement officer, your chairman was signing the applications. And I did have a conversation with her, and she said that she remembers reviewing this. Again, it's just not on the record for whatever reason, and obviously without staff, things like this could happen. But I think it behooves the commission and the town to, and again, conferring with the town attorney, that you affirm and approve this site plan.
Have a building permit, Kurt?
There is a building permit.
So the building official, I'm not sure how they signed off if there was no approval from the zoning commission. That's illegal. But if it's a building is underway, I think that, you know.
Now, Kurt, you've also reviewed this.
Actually,
and-
this was sent to Hiram. He did review that.
Yeah.
He had this back
and-
several months ago.
And the committee does remember reviewing it. It just, we don't have a vote on record, so let's put a vote on record.
Right, it was signed, the zoning permit was signed by the chairman at the time.
All right, so then I'll accept the motion to approve it, sort of.
This is the one, it's the garage.
Yeah, it's the garage. Yeah, it's right across the street from the.
It's an
soccer.
addition.
Yeah.
It's not a warehouse. I
Yeah.
did check that out. There are separate garage doors and, excuse the comment, man doors. That's what they're referred to, human doors and a garage door. They would be separate spaces rented out, tradesmen. It's a tradesman building. And it's an addition to a
Already existing.
yeah,
structure.
existing structure. Yeah, there's a garage. There's a house on the property.
Mhm.
I remember like I said, I remember the gentleman
Mhm.
informing the commission.
Lou Criscolo. Lou Criscolo. Again, I think this was an administrative problem, lack of staff, unfortunately, of staff. I mean, everybody abandoned the town basically during that period. And gracious public servants as yourself try to fill in during that period of time. I only could imagine how difficult that was. So there's a motion on the floor, Mr. Chairman?
Can we have a motion? Yes. I'll make a motion that we
Approve the site plan. Approve the site plan.
approve the site plan for 636 Amity Road.
As it was presented in October.
Present.
Yes, all right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further?
I have discussions.
Yes, any further discussion? I have to go through.
I looked at this as I'm sorry. Since this is the only plan that I saw, on the meeting documents we had for today, I took the site plan and I went according to our regulations, and I've come up with some concerns. And if I'd like to address them without knowing the history of this. So I apologize for that. I just get that as a fresh member of the commission. The first thing I noticed is that the property is not just BI, but it's also BIWSO. And that changes one important thing, a total ground coverage. It reduces it from 75 down to 60. And this now is 64.5%. So it doesn't comply with our regulations from that perspective.
WSO.
And then
watershed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also looked for some of the other things that's listed in our regs, like a drainage plan, percolation test results, lighting diagram, discussion of outside storage. Is a driveway, is it going to be pavement? Has QVHD approved it since it's right next to water company property? A fire marshal approval, Again, that's all the stuff I was looking for as a newbie reviewer. And what about the landscaping plan? It's expanding the property square footage area by more than 25%, and our regulations specifically say that for landscaping, the entire property has to undergo landscaping. So that's why I'm kind of confused.
This is also submitted by NOK, which was the gentleman who was here earlier for the community, the.
Fair 115 Fair.
Yeah. fair enough. Oh, okay. I noticed the NOK. Yeah.
So that's why I mentioned you, Curtis. I was looking for the previous discussion of it. So if some of these things were addressed.
Yeah, I searched the minutes of it. Don't know what the glitch was, but.
Yeah.
There's not even minutes of him coming to put it in front of us?
There's an application, there's a whole file, there's this entire set of plans, and there are a lot of details, and I think some of the questions that you brought up aren't on this plan. And this was sent to Hiram. We do have a record that it was sent to Hiram.
Is it ever on an agenda for any of our
Yeah,
meetings?
yeah, it was on the October meeting agenda. We did discuss it.
I didn't know if I was doing that or you were doing
It was on the October agenda.
Okay. I think it's a glitch in the minutes. I frankly think it's just minutes because I remember clearly the chairman at that time about it.
Wouldn't we have a recording of the meeting though? Don't we save those?
I don't think we
And,
recorded them.
We didn't have recordings back.
we always had the audio.
You gotta have audio, sure.
No.
I didn't see that.
referring to the.
Right, yeah, there's the doors and
Yeah,
the man doors.
Clearly not aware of this.
Human doors.
What are they gonna be putting in there? Do you know? Is it gonna be vehicle?
I'm gonna guess from speaking to the owner that they're gonna be rental units for tradesmen.
Oh.
Rental.
I wasn't on the commission at that time, so.
I know.
Right, there's been a big change. Obviously.
Yeah, but I existed, but I wasn't at that meeting.
And I'm sorry, your first thing.
Oh, Nancy.
Nancy, gee, I apologize. I had a conversation with her a month or two ago, and she says, I clearly remember, so.
I remember him speaking to us, and I remember, there was a discussion which one it was. Oh, it's the white building. It's almost directly across the street from the barracks, right?
Barracks, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought I recalled a discussion about additional bays, maybe someone working on cars. So I remember him. I remember hearing the presentation. Could not, do I remember a vote? No, but I remember him speaking to us. And then, like I said, I was called down. There were a pile of approvals. And I'd always say, are these, did Hiram look at them? Are they ready to go? And I can sign them.
I did find
there was,
you know what? I hope I have them here, but
An important item that is.
there's correspondence. There's clearly correspondence, and Lena was not here any.
oh no, I know Lena wasn't here.
Right,
yeah.
Veronica,
that I do.
Coming
it
in.
was days before Veronica went on.
But the important thing, I think, is that this structure was proposed as an addition to his business son. It wasn't rental, it wasn't renting out various compartments. It was for his business. That was really an important part of this.
Yeah, my recollection, I thought I remembered him he was gonna work on cars or maybe some additional bays to work on cars. I don't remember a rental discussion, but it doesn't mean like.
And I may have, I may be blending other conversations I've had. Whatever his application was, I had him come into the office. And he says, I did everything by the book. I was
by the books. I was asked to do plans, he presented them, he said, I know they were reviewed. And he does have a business there, right? That's his business.
Yeah.
So again, with the absence of professional staff or any staff, I believe prior to my arrival, the whole land use department was closed. I under the impression that couldn't even get a building for a month or several months. So
That's true.
listen, for something to fall by the wayside or through the cracks is certainly not, doesn't come as a surprise.
Well, it just seems like the thing that's missing is evidence of a vote, right? Which actually could just be, and unfortunately, an error in the minutes. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. There's no evidence either way.
Right. And I'm not pointing a finger at anyone. It appears to be that everything was done as well as it possibly could have been done under the circumstances. And again, yeah, under your guidance, your volunteer guidance.
Seems the simplest thing to do would be to go back and just listen to the minutes.
What I'm looking for is a vote this evening. There's a motion on the floor, seconded.
Yes.
Discussion. So either move the question and we can have a vote on this and it could be in the records. And if somebody wishes to appeal, then they have 14 days after it's published. You know, and that would be on the property. But I don't think there was any objection, and anyone who has standing within the 100-foot area, only they can file an appeal. So we need to clean this up.
Concerns about it being used for a different purpose than was originally presented to us. Also, with the size of the facility being larger than actually what it should be, that Mr. Harrison brought out.
Well, I think, the size of the facility isn't the issue. The issue is, again, from my review, post hoc, so to speak, I just went along to our regulations, and based on the information I had, I found none of these documents were available for me to review to make sure that it met all the requirements, especially, the ground coverage one. Because it is in a WSO, but some of the lighting, there's no display of, what lighting pictures are going to be there. The landscaping plans, the commission at one point went through significant changes to regulations to improve how our BNI looks years ago. And it's really helped to improve the look of BI with some of the plantings that people have been using. And right now I drive by that building and it's like, I've also wondered, where did this come from type of thing personally, but so those are my concerns, Adam, as opposed to not the size of the building, but the fact that it appears that not all unless there's other documentation that exists that may have gotten lost, I don't know, but it doesn't appear it meets some of the requirements.
Again, our town planner reviewed these. And you recall that, right?
But how do we know what type of, what type of lighting they're gonna put in there? And what if they put spotlights all over this building? We don't have any idea of what.
And I'll shut it down.
I get it, but I mean,
If they were on an original plan, Brad, I would say that they shouldn't be approved unless they were on that original plan. I remember the original plan being very simple. And that was just a structure behind the existing house, and that was it. And I do remember clearly that it was because of the moratorium we had in place that he specifically said, no, this is for my business. I think that's.
We have a statement of purpose.
I mean, even if he said he was gonna use it for his own business, is there anything that would preclude him from renting it out? Years into the future, I don't think there would be.
Well, I think that gets into the moratorium question, and
That becomes a change of use, and if the statement of use is violated, but then of course you have to decide that and go cite him. But that's true of anything. Right?
Yeah. Just there was soil testing done. Looking for a statement of use. Notify the adjoining property owners, the list in there. Fine, I'm just looking for a thinking lighting plan. Well,
No,
may I
actually, we're
offer
looking
this?
for the statement of
I
use.
don't remember lighting plan.
Yes, may I offer this? How about, you could approve this conditionally, and you could submit a lighting plan. I don't think that this particular unit is gonna be a Christmas tree. I think it's more of a,
I mean, it sounds like the guy's probably just gonna have limited lights, but how do we know that though? That's our location. We spent so much time dealing with CFC and their lighting and their landscaping to just sort of.
yeah,
Like,
it is behind another existing building. Again, I'm not trying to be here on his behalf. I'm not trying to,
When it's on as the agenda item in October, is in the description, is there anything that kind of establishes the statement of use in, when it shows up in October? Because I do agree with Hiram. I thought it was purpose for him. He was expanding his own business, needed a few more
and
bays.
you know what? That is probably the case. I wasn't here. I'm sure that he was asked for documentation during the time, during the application period. You would actually know that better than I.
Is there a possibility that this could have been 695 Amity Road?
No,
695 is the soccer field,
Yeah,
Okay.
and that has been withdrawn.
it's a white building. It's almost.
No, but I'm looking back on my
Yeah, six-
emails, so.
I'm just not
It
finding,
must-
and it was an inquiry. Hey, how come this is not on the, this is not showing as an approval?
Someone has a laptop, maybe we'll check the October 2025 agenda.
Stephanie and we did a
It's
thorough.
not even on there as an agenda item?
Now that isn't
Is it
necessarily,
possible we're just remembering him coming to talk to us before he submitted something? No,
That's not a thing.
I don't have any recollection of it, but I could have missed the meeting. I don't remember.
I wasn't here. I was.
Chairman, can I shed some light? This did come across my desk. I had a conversation with the owner. And it was specifically warehouse space to expand his business. That was that property, correct?
Yeah, it's his own business use.
That's the way he put it to me.
That was what I understood, but again, I've only had people communicate that to me. Yeah.
Did you submit a report as a result of your conversation or?
I signed off on the checklist
Okay.
of everybody that had to sign off.
Okay.
I had to sign off QPHD, stuff like that.
So we just don't know when. We don't know when he showed up.
November?
But I can picture him speaking to us.
But you're right, this was during that whole time where everything was chaotic down there.
Mhm.
So I agree with Kurt, so such a cracks would have been possible.
At what point does this cross into deemed as approved? He's had his application.
Well, it's approved, right?
So
it's approved, it's signed
Yeah.
by the chairman of the commission.
Yeah, when we didn't have Lena, what was happening, because no one was approving anything, and Hiram knows this, a stack would be compiled, and I would come down at lunchtime. I think I did it 2 times, and there could be 10 plus applications. And I had asked that, Veronica said, make sure they're all okay, because I don't have time to go down there on my lunch break and go through 10 to 20 applications. I say, are they all ready for approval? And she'd say yes, and I'd sit there and I'd approve the stack, and it was obviously in one of the stacks. But like I said, I know he spoke with us.
Again, I don't disagree with the lighting plan. I don't seem to see one here, and I'm certain that the building owner would
agree to submit a lighting plan. Certainly.
So since there's nothing on the plan right now, that limits him from putting any lights in effectively.
I would.
So he
I
would
would
have to
agree
come
with
back to us with some sort of plan
lighting
if he
plan.
wants to put in lighting. Do you
So
agree with that?
I would say to try to move this along. And again, the building is under construction. He's actually putting the siding every day that I drive by it. I've seen, yeah, the building progress. Let's have him come back with a lighting plan that you folks could actually vote on.
Is it best to do a conditional approval with the lighting plan to be provided?
Well, I may mention that perhaps that you could do.
Because it just seems that this is completely out of accord right now.
Yeah, and I'm trying to patch up some. I don't want to put the town in further. Yeah, I don't even want to use the word gender. But that's why the town.
All right, then, so we have a motion to approve.
Affirm.
Or
Yeah.
approve. Do we have, we can amend that to approve with the condition that he submit a lighting plan and an official statement of use.
I made him find it. Again, that office was a pile of paper.
Honestly, it wouldn't be hard for him to write another one if you can't find it, so we'll just ask for a statement of use, whatever provenance.
So do we need to withdraw the motion that?
No, we can amend it.
Okay, just amend it, and it's a conditional approval with
Submission of a lighting plan and
formal
a
statement.
formal statement of use.
That's the motion before us now?
That's the motion before us.
And it was seconded?
Haven't been seconded yet. Anyone want to second it?
I'll second it.
Well, it was already, the amendment.
I second.
You have to second the amendment, and then we have to vote on the amendment and then on the amended resolution technically. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of amending the original motion to include a request for a statement of lighting and statement of purpose or use, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay?
Nay.
And then now that it's amended, those in favor of the motion itself, which is to approve with those two conditions.
This is the vote or
This is the vote.
Okay.
Because we've now amended the motion. That's the restatement of the motion. Is there any further discussion on the amended motion? Fine. All those in favor of the amended motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Nay.
And I will abstain simply because I wasn't there, but there's 3 of 5 is a majority vote, so it passes.
Okay, and I will contact him in the morning. Thank you.
Now, we have some zoning regulation revisions that Hiram wants to propose for us to comply with state law as adopted through Special Session Public Act 25-1 by the state legislature. And you all got a memo on this. Thank you. Yeah, I have a copy of it.
Is there a copy of it?
Yeah, give him, can you give her a copy, Karen? No.
Yeah.
With that, the housing bill there, it impacts the Sperry Road. Part of it, yeah. More single things.
Go ahead.
Okay. This is actually potentially could take a while. So whenever you get tired and you say, that's it for tonight, let me know. Happy to do that. Basically, what these regulation amendments are portions of Special Session Public Act 25-1 that requires us, that the legislature required us to make changes to our regulations. Some of these changes are supposed to be made by July 1, and as I've told other commissions that I've worked with, my feeling is that we should get it right rather than worry about July 1. If we get it the next meeting or the meeting after that, I think we'll be fine. But they're important changes with regard to housing, not necessarily affordable housing, but for housing. So for example, one of the first things that it requires us to do is to define summary review. And to put it very, very briefly, summary review is that where the commission gets to take a look at the site plan, but there's no public hearing. Okay, and so that's not something that we typically do. It's a term that the legislature, for whatever reason, decided to add into the statute, but summary review is, that's what it is. One of the things that we need to consider is whether we want to add specific things like landscaping, outdoor lighting requirements, architecture requirements, building bulk, site design, and other things in the regulations that pertain to this specific type of housing I'm going to mention next. The type of housing is called transit community middle housing. And many people would say, well, we don't even have a bus, we don't have any transit here. The fact is, the way the legislature put this together is it applies to all towns in the state. And basically what it says is that there are, you can have 2 to 9 dwelling units in any zone which is commercial. So for example, our B&I zone, somebody could come in with a proposal to put a, let's just say a 3-unit building. That would be subject to summary review, no public hearing, and it would go forward that way. Now you could deny it, but the reason that I said before that we may want to add things like landscaping and lighting and so on, architecture requirements to that particular zone is so that you could make a determination as to whether you really wanted to approve it or not. So that's a question that we have to answer at some particular point in the near future. The types of houses and things that are included in the transit community middle housing are things like townhouses. And typically, and I talked to the chairman earlier this week, and I'll define that for you, but basically it's a unit that's stacked one on top of another, or it's one floor of the unit over another. A duplex is obviously 2 units and could be a single dwelling, or single structure rather, with 2 units in it. Triplex is the same thing. It could be a single structure with 3 units. A perfect 6 is not something we may not be familiar with here, but a perfect 6 is we see in more urban situations. It's a 3-story structure with 2 units per floor, a central hallway. So there's 6 units. There's 2, 2, and 2. And that's called a perfect 6. And that's actually wording that's in the legislation. And cottage cluster is another one, small cottage type units that are on the same parcel of land. So again, can be 2 to 9 units on that particular property. In addition to this, current zoning regulations, we need to modify them to permit these structures in the business and industrial zone. And I made the notes here that what section it applies to in our current regulations. Also the attainable housing overlay zone. So that these types of structures could be put in that zone as well. The parking requirements, interesting, legislature got into this, and the parking requirements for anywhere from 1 to 16 units, there's no parking requirements required. That is, the town cannot say, we want to see X number of parking spaces. We can make recommendations, we can make suggestions, but we can't require any parking for up to 16 units. So that's important. A lot of people don't like that necessarily, but that's what the law says. After 16 units, that is 17 units, don't ask me what happens at the 16th unit because it's really not clear in the legislation. A lot of people are asking for that, and we thought that they would fix that before midnight tonight. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know.
Good luck with that.
But a parking needs assessment, we can ask for that. And that needs assessment, now we've heard about other applications, maybe as recently as tonight, that we would ask for a parking needs assessment. And the typical requirements for that are, how many units are you going to have? How many spaces do you really need? That type of thing as well. So an engineer will give us a parking needs assessment if we ask for it, but we don't have any right, again, to ask for a certain number of parking spaces.
So those are the ones that are mandated by state. The
Correct.
rest of your memo is more elective, if
Yeah,
I understand this
that's
correctly.
correct.
So let's deal with this part first, if
Yeah,
I may.
okay.
The transit community housing zone, what do they call that? Transit community middle housing.
Right.
Is that stipulated to be near a transit point?
No. That was the intent, but it doesn't say that. It's not required. It applies to all communities in the state, not just urban communities. It's not just ones that have a transit route running through them with a specific number of bus routes or trains or whatever. But we're required to have it because we're a municipality in the state of Connecticut.
So this is also mandated. We don't have
Correct.
the luxury not to do it.
That's correct.
But can we choose where it is?
In any business zone, any commercial zone.
Any B&I, do we, okay.
Yep.
Right. So it can go in a B&I. It can't be forced into a residential area.
No, my opinion at this point anyway, with lots of discussion still going on about this legislation, my opinion is that they can't force it to put this in a residential zone.
And it does also, can it also be put in an AHOZ?
Yes.
So that can be put in
Yes.
a residential.
That has to.
But that has to be applied for.
B&I zone, right? If
No, no.
we choose to put the overlay zone.
The AHOZ is a separate zone. It's an overlay zone that this commission can, after having a public hearing, can decide to locate it in a particular zone or not.
But it can be in a residential as well as in a B&I.
The thing with the AHOZ zone is a lot of people don't realize there's 6 different subzones under that. You can have a commercial, you can have a store below it, you could have apartments above it, you could have one portion of it be retail, commercial, another portion of it be residential in different buildings. The AHOZ has a tremendous amount of flexibility. That's why that's included in that zone.
But the AHOZ, as it currently exists, because we have those regulations in our regulations already, can that only be applied to a B&I zone?
No, that can land anywhere.
That was my understanding. Thank
Yep.
you. Okay. And the summary review that they are asking us to create a process for only applies to the transit community middle housing, correct?
So far at this point, it does also apply to 2 units to 9 units, and it can apply to those other things I mentioned to you: townhouses, duplexes, triplexes, and so on.
Right, but that's a transit community middle housing, isn't it?
Right.
Those 9 units? Right. So the summary review only applies to the transit community middle housing. It doesn't apply to any other zoning request.
Right.
Is that correct?
I believe that's correct. Yeah.
It says, and the attainable housing over, so the AHOZ.
Right. That's the only other one.
So both.
Oh, sorry.
That's where are you reading that?
Number 4, it says and.
Yeah, additional term. Okay, that talks about business and business industrial and the attainable housing overlay zone. Yes.
Right, but the summary review doesn't go to the attainable housing overlay zone. It goes to a transit community middle housing
Right.
project that is being placed in an attainable housing overlay zone. So not every
Right. If you were to
AHOZ
get
gets a summary review.
If you were to get some application in the future for an attainable housing overlay zone that was just residential, my view is at this point, it would not be eligible for a summary review because our current regulations call for it to be a zone change and a public hearing is required for that.
Mhm.
Correct.
That's what I was trying to understand. That's how I understood it, but I wanted to make sure that's correct. Because that's why I'm asking specifically this applies, this summary review that the state is mandating is linked to a transit community middle housing project.
right. Yep.
Okay.
Question. You mentioned before, and this is under middle housing development as of right. And it pertains to the process by which someone can build in our commercial or B&I zones. This review that middle housing developments between 2 and 9 units are allowed by summary process similar to as of right approval on any area zone for commercial or mixed-use development. When I hear, so you had mentioned doesn't necessarily need a public hearing, but when I hear as of right, you're saying it still needs to come before us, but it as of right to me says you have a right to do so.
That's fine, but it still also has to come to you as a site plan. You just can't have a public hearing.
And we have to prove it as long as it meets the requirements of the site.
As long as it meets those requirements.
The regulations.
That's why I'm suggesting that if we want to do this, what we might want to do is put a series of standards in there that talk about landscaping and talk about lighting, because if it's not in there,
Then we
you don't get to invent it at that point.
And
That's
we
right.
do have similar constraints for our AHOZ already, so we
Correct.
could mirror those.
Yep, I think so.
So that would make that simpler. But you say if we decide to do it, what if we don't decide to do it? We're still going to have to do it because the state says we have to.
You have to do it.
So-
Absolutely.
So
Frankly,
our benefit to approving a regulation change to allow us to do it is we can put those stipulations in,
That's right.
which we can borrow from our AHOZ on a shorthand.
Well, I can do better than that. Actually, that was done a while ago, and I can make it clearer and more, I think, appropriate for the town. I think
So
that,
right now you want our guidance so you can submit a resolution for a future meeting.
yeah, sometime, and it'd probably be at your next meeting, frankly.
I'm very concerned and confused about this parking or non-parking situation. And then also it says parking need assessments. When it says needs assessment, that's not needs as in handicap or anything.
Nope, it's just the term that the legislature used to make sure that the commission can say to an applicant, go get an engineer, professional engineer, that will give us a needs assessment to show how much parking is actually needed to make this property work. For example, no one's going to probably build a building and provide no parking. Just doesn't make any sense. They're not going to be able to lease it. They're not going to be able to rent it. They're going to provide some parking.
As a transit location, you could be across the street from some sort of transit. I mean, that's the reason why there's no parking.
Yeah, I think that's
Well, I mean,
possible.
where I've seen transit middle housing concept used, particularly in California near where my sister lives, it is literally clustered around a transit center. And so the parking is usually limited because it's assumed that the people living there will use the transit and not doing a lot of cars. That's the whole point for a transit-centered district, which doesn't work in Bethany without, like, we have,
Send it
what,
to them for review.
any
I
bus
think
line?
they'll say that's
We
what
have
I
one
want.
that
I know
runs
John
between New Haven and
Bethany really
Waterbury.
well, so I'm happy to do that. Yep.
I don't know if it has any stops. I've just seen a bus go by. Right, so I mean, it's a long walk from the nearest bus stop to get to this transit district.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, in this case, my guess is that was how it was originally proposed, and as it wended its way through the system, the title didn't get changed, but the concept did. But if this is state law, then we have limited discretion in dealing with it, and the one discretion we do have is we can put restrictions on if we accept it.
That's right. I think that if we don't do it, let's say we decided not to do it, or we're just going to ignore it. Frankly, somebody could come in and make an application under this. And if we say, well, we don't have a regulation to allow that. My opinion from talking to several attorneys about this is they could simply say, well, the state law allows me to do this. And so I'm making my application. Before you know it, a clock is going to be running. We're going to run out of time. I don't suggest that we ignore it at all. I suggest that we do it and try to make it as best we can to fit the town as best we can.
I think there's a litany of things that we could add to this to be more Bethany-esque. Landscaping requirements is a big one. Outdoor lighting, we are a dark sky town and would like to remain so. Architectural requirements, maybe not so much.
Well,
Pavement,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, I mean, architectural, I think we should, it's about time we start to say what we'd like to see these buildings look like. They're gonna be pretty visible, let's just say right on Amity Road somewhere. Do you want them all to look like CFC, or do we have some other thing in mind that we would like it to look like? So that's my.
Yes. Well, I like, for our AHOZ has a limit on height, 2 stories. Go ahead.
Suggested, actually, talked about this when they,
You're the first selectman.
Name and address.
Carol Goldberg, 5 North Thompson Drive, 40 Peck Road. I seem to live here more. Our CCM, Connecticut Council of Municipalities, has a group that, an outside group that we are allowed to use to review these once we get them in line with what we want. My suggestion to you, fighting through Hiram as well as through our attorney, is that we come up with as many criteria as we want to put on here. That Hiram has been very kind to put a number of them, but I think we come up with more. And if you need to take a little time to come up with more, I think you should do that. And I'd be happy to make suggestions. But we can make this very Bethany. We're not doing it to be exclusive, but we're really doing it to say what we want on a particular piece of property. Then if you pass this, and it shows you're working on it, if you pass it, CCM can then look at it, make suggestions. Well, you can pass the idea. Then they can make suggestions. Our attorney will then look at it before anything is finally done. But I would suggest that you really spend some time and make sure that we add things to this so that someone doesn't come in and say, well, you don't have any specifics, I can do what I want.
That was my understanding, and I think we should do that. And I think Hiram has a good list of suggestions he wants. I might like to see that list and then add what's missing.
So CCM has contacted me and Hiram about setting up a meeting to begin to go over some of this. And then what they're going to do, they're doing it all over the state.
Okay.
This is confusing because Hiram is probably in the middle of most discussions about what these new laws mean that have been passed, and it's confusing because.
Right, yes, at some point that, we had talked about this earlier in January, about setting up a special meeting where we discuss, planning related issues such as this, and now ended at the end of a zoning meeting.
No, I think that is something we should do, but I think that's putting the cart before the horse in this case. I want to hear, this is a separate mandated proposal. We're going to have to deal with this sooner than planning, like the EPOCD. But I do want to get it, I want to get this ball rolling, and I want to authorize Hiram to come up with language for us to review and look at it. So I would like to just do that now. I don't think we need to take a vote on that.
Not right now, no, but I'll give you a couple more quick things. Let me finish this and please take a look at this. And if you have other suggestions about things that you either have questions about or you want to add to or whatever, please, through staff, let me know so that we can work on them. I'd like to have it ready for your
I
next
do
meeting.
want to, just in the interests of full disclosure, there is someone in the audience who has asked for some time. And we would have to vote to accept them to introduce it as new business. But I just want to keep that in mind because I've asked them to wait. And I would like to give them that time, or at least give them a chance to get a vote for that time. But I do want to hear this because this is important for us. This is our businesses making regulations.
So Hiram, you're suggesting that we look at the attainable housing overlay zone to get some ideas, because we've already done that.
I think if you take a look at the last page, there's also number 8, for example, talks about a number of things that we can add in there. So take a look at that list. They're all considered. I'm not sure you can think of anything else, but if you can, please let me know. Happy to do that. The one big thing I want to mention to you too is my suggestion is that we accessory dwelling units. Right now we have the attached accessory dwelling units as of right. My suggestion is that we make all accessory dwelling units, whether they're attached or detached, as of right. You have staff, you have the zoning enforcement officer that can look at a plan and make sure that it conforms to the regulations. I don't think it really needs to come and take up the commission's time if it meets all the requirements of the regulations. As long as the regulations are tight, I think you should be in a good shape to do that. It would save a lot of time, allows people to build ADUs. Occasionally you're going to get an issue, no question about it, but you have staff to look at it. And I'm certainly willing to look at it as well. So that's a suggestion that I have, that we not keep that as a special exception, try to save some time. Typically what people are trying to do is they're either trying to move their mom into the basement or the attic or the garage or whatever, and you want to do it fairly quickly so you can get it, before the, cows pass. Okay.
Are we allowed to add in, like, since this is in a multi-dwelling in a business type zone, can we add in handicap restrictions?
Those are gonna be-
Ramps instead of
Tho-
ramps and steps?
Those are only going to be covered by ADA anyway. That's really a building department question.
Okay.
So ADA covers that stuff.
So now, but your discussion has moved on to item 6 on your list here.
I'm sorry, say that again.
You're talking about accessory apartment, ADUs, accessory dwelling units,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
And so you have two asks as I see it. One is that we not restrict it to attached ADUs, but that it be attached or detached but with the same space requirements we currently have.
Correct. And there's some numbering in the regs that. have to
And
be-
then that well, that would have to be, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other suggestion or ask that you have is that we either do a simple site plan, not make it a special exception, special permit, or demote it to a site plan approved by the ZEO only.
Well, the site plan can still come to the commission, doesn't have to be a public hearing.
Mhm.
Or ultimately, if it starts to work well, you may want to just say, zoning enforcement officer can deal with this. We don't want to deal with it anymore. But neither one would require a public hearing.
Right. So, yeah, so there's two components to your app.
Correct.
Can we mandate that over a certain number of units?
No, this is just for ADUs now. So this is an accessory dwelling unit. That he's going to come back with suggestions on. If you have other suggestions on restrictions to put on that,
Yeah, let
send
us
them
know.
to Hiram so he can incorporate.
The legislation is lovely. It's 104 pages. And I'm just telling you, we have to fit in between the commas and the periods and the exclamation points here. It's tricky. A lot of people, I've been to 10 seminars so far, and people have a lot of different ideas about what they think it says. So I just want to make sure that we get there.
Right. So now we're on to number 6 on this list,
Got it.
where we're talking about ADUs.
That-
And
yeah.
so the first question, I guess, is, do we want to allow unattached ADUs that are still size restricted by the rest of the regulations, because we're not changing that? And then the second question is, do you want to demote it from a special permit public hearing to just a site plan approval or to a site plan approved by the CEO?
And be a tiny house.
Could be a tiny house, could be over a garage. Yep.
Hiram,
Yeah, over a detached garage, because otherwise.
Could be. Yep. Yep. But only one on another property.
No, there's no, our restrictions in the zoning are, you can only have one ADU per property, and there has to be a main house associated.
Yep.
And the owner of the property has to live in one of the 2 units.
Correct.
so we had essentially we have an application before us right now, and it's called an accessory apartment, right, which we listened to. Is there a technical difference between accessory dwelling unit and accessory apartment?
No.
So I'm just pointing out, if we expedite the process of putting these in, we had a case where somebody in town had an issue with one, and then if we would end that opportunity, right? If we allow them, if we're taking away.
They still have to come to the commission. My suggestion is that we use the site plan approved by the commission at this point. I think to give it to the staff is putting a lot of pressure on staff, and you wouldn't want to necessarily do that right now. I think that the way it should be done is that it should still be a site plan, still be approved by the commission. At that time, you can still ask all the questions that you have in mind. You don't necessarily have to approve it right then, but you can't have a public hearing.
But there's notification of abutters with a site plan approval, correct?
No, not necessarily.
Okay, so that's the problem she's at.
I guess I'm pointing out that the ability for that neighbor would cease, right? If we were to do away with the public hearing portion.
Good question about the notification of the neighbors, because I would check, frankly, I talked to the town attorney about that, because that's not a public hearing, but it does let the neighbors know that something's going on. And if they want to send a letter to staff as part of that, to voice whatever their concerns are, whether it's drainage or lighting or whatever it happens to be, we might get away with that. As long as it's not a public hearing, I think we might get away with that.
My concern is just essentially, I want to make sure that people in town have a voice, I suppose, when there is going to be something done on a neighbor's property. I'm a little hesitant to remove the ability of anybody in town to not have their quote, day in court, so to speak. I'm a little hesitant, right?
I completely understand that. I know that there's a tremendous push on the part of the legislature to reduce the amount of time that it takes to get through a process, however that happens. And I understand exactly what you're saying, and that's,
99% of the ADUs that come before us might be no issue,
Yep.
no issue. But the one time somebody comes forward and says, I got a problem and I want you to listen to me, that would go away.
understand.
And so I'm a little, I guess I'm trying to preserve the opportunity of people to be able to at least state their case.
I understand it. I do. I think that we just have to deal with it, figure out how to deal with it. You don't have to accept it, but I'll make a suggestion. You can do it, and I'll run it by town attorney, and I'll run it by the folks at COG, and we can get somewhere where hopefully we can find that middle ground somewhere.
So, as I see it then, I think that we need further research on if we're going to demote it to a site plan approval or a site plan approved by zoning enforcement officer. However, we can still accept non-attached ADUs and still just have them go through the special permit use, just like they already do. So I would make a motion to consider that, to allow detached or attached accessory dwelling units or accessory apartments.
Okay, so basically leave it the way it is what you're saying.
Well, leave the approval the way it is, but add the detached ADUs, because we don't have that right now. Right now, our regs say they have to be attached.
The detached ones go to hearing. That's what we had tonight.
No, that one's attached.
But a detached, well, I shouldn't necessarily have to go. Should be by special, by site plan. I get it. I'll get it worded the way you're talking about, Mr. Chairman.
So as I read our regulations, accessory apartments may be created within a single-family dwelling or as an addition to, but not as a standalone. So all I'm proposing, or what I was interpreting your proposal to be, is to at least add. Oh, no, it does actually, may also be located in a separate detached structure. So we actually already have that, so we don't need to do that.
Okay.
So mostly what you're saying is that we should, well, let's research this, because I agree with Nancy that what we had tonight indicates that we need to have some kind of public input. If it's a matter of making it a site plan approval with notification of the neighbors, but that may mean that's a whole separate category of site plan approval that we don't already have.
Well, I think we do talk about that neighborhood notification, but it's not, it doesn't require a public hearing. So again, that's one where I think we're walking between the raindrops there, and I'll talk to the town attorney about that.
Talk to the town attorney about that,
Yeah.
because I would like to hear their opinion of that before we move along with that. Because I want, as she says, we need to protect the neighbor's ability to make a comment about, short of having to go get a 2219A intervenor status or something, right? They should have the right to say, this is gonna wreck my property if he does this. And they should have that right. And then, of course, we have the right to request expert review and everything else to determine that they're not just making false charges. But they should have the right to comment on what's going on next door.
Yeah, what I always hope for is that when the applications come in, that they would notify staff as to what their concerns are. Staff could research that and get those addressed, hopefully before the meeting.
So the applicant is unlikely to notify staff that their neighbors have concerns. And if we don't notify the neighbors that the application has come in, they won't know to voice their concerns.
That's what I'm saying. I think we can notify them without having a public hearing, but again, we'll leave it the way it is.
Let's work on that.
Okay, we'll work on that, absolutely.
And then number 7.
Yep, commercial parking qualified professional for the parking requirements, parking regulations, and it's worded there the way that the statute asks us to do that. And then the last one is the requirement, if adopted, inserted into section 9, the townwide standards, and I've listed a bunch of those items there with regard to design. We've talked, some people have talked about having architectural review, and that's another whole step and another whole process and possibly another whole committee or commission. But there are a number of things that we can put into the regulations now that allow us to say what it should look like, what it can look like. And I think now is our opportunity to do something like that. So that's why those are listed there.
I have a question about your reference. 9, townwide standards, 9.5.1. I get 9.2, 9.3, 9.4, which has all these different subcategories. And then there's a 0.
And 9.51.
Off-street parking. Where is that?
Section 9, page 32 of my edition.
Right. It's a recommendation to try to get that squared
All right,
away
I
and
don't
then
have
put it
that
in the
in
right
that
section.
format, but I don't have a bound copy. Can I get one of these? A bound copy of our regulation?
No, I mean, I got the same copy that you did. I think Lena copied them all initially when she was here. And I cut the binding off because the number of pages have changed already, so.
Oh, here it is. It is on the other page 32 of section 9. Yeah, off-street parking. Okay. So you want to, instead of specifying different parking spaces, just require all of them to have, all commercial developments, not residential, to have a properly prepared parking needs assessment professionally done.
That's right. I think what's happening today is very tough. Retail is tough anyway, very difficult to get people to do that. And if we require too much parking, it discourages the retail to come in. If we have a good study that's done by a qualified professional to indicate how much parking is actually needed for the development that they're proposing, I think that's probably something we should consider seriously.
All right. And this is the text you would suggest for us, which is right there.
Correct.
A.
Yep.
Is there any discussion about that? I mean, it would simplify our parking regulations.
I think it helps with commercial development. Would like to see a little more retail rescue, something other than maybe cold storage. So if it helps business owners.
I think it will, all the
I
developers
mean,
that
if you
I've talked
think
with.
that's a barrier to people coming in, it's certainly worth looking at.
Yeah.
And frankly, again, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure it's still valid, because I don't know when these regulations were developed, that you need 1 space per 250 feet of floor area. Maybe there's a newer rubric or a newer protocol for that.
There is. I mean, we could look at the Institute of Traffic Engineers guidelines, but.
Yeah, but I don't see a reason to do that, because whoever they hire will do that for us. Right? If they hire an engineer to assess their parking.
Yeah, I mean, if we change the regulation so that they can give us that needs assessment, that's what I'm recommending that we do. Absolutely.
So is there a motion regarding 7A here to change the parking regulations? Does someone want to do that, or do you want to think about it? Do you want to, I mean, this is essentially the text of the amendment you would provide us, right? I mean, this is essentially a motion right here.
And what I can do is, I've heard, I think the comments so far, let me get this firm into more of a regulation
So
category.
Give
I'll
us,
have it
give
for
us
you
the
for next
motion
meeting.
for next, a
Absolutely.
recommendation, whatever.
Yep.
All right.
One other
In
thing
agreement on that?
I just want to give you that moratorium as well. Do you all have that copy?
Yeah, we have a copy.
I have a moratorium. Can I have a copy of what you just went through? Because I thought you were actually the moratorium.
Okay. I think we need the moratorium.
No, I have it. I have 2 copies of it.
Okay.
Yeah, we can talk about that next time. And now, if there, now we need to, there is a request to add another item of business. How long does that presentation, you think, take? All right. Are we okay about hearing her item of business?
Yep, have to. Motion.
Yeah, we have to have a motion to add it.
I'll make a motion that we add
And I need a second to said motion.
this as a new item.
All right, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. All right, you have your 2 minutes. You need your name and your address.
Yeah.
Let me just, I'll bring it a little closer because I don't really like chat all that loud. My name is Claire Lane and I'm on 20 Johnson Road. And lately I've been reading what's happening on the news, and I've been noticing some things that are happening in the other towns. And I was concerned about it. And so I talked to the town clerk and he recommended I speak with you guys. And I think it has to pertain a little bit to what's happening in terms of the state and how the state, from what I understand, they don't want public hearings based on development. Did I understand that correct? Roughly.
Well, so that the state is concerned that we not hold up attainable housing, or because they're concerned about housing prices and housing availability.
Okay.
It does not pertain to business development per
Okay.
se.
Okay, all right. So I just because I'm the kind of person who I like to think a little bit before I speak, I wrote stuff down. So it's a little bit nerdy, but I figure I would read to you my concern. I'm coming here today not because I want to, but because I have to, as a private citizen, as an educated citizen, and as an American citizen. Across our nation, there's a massive push to expand flock cameras and data centers, and this is happening across farmlands, suburban neighborhoods, and rural communities such as ours. And I believe the two to be related. I want to first talk about flock cameras that are happening. So it's in 3 different towns right now. It's in Beacon Falls, it's in Norwalk, and I think they tried to install it in Middletown, and they're also trying to put it on the highways.
I think you're talking about speed cameras, right?
Right, but
Cameras are license plate readers.
well, I think it might be a little bit related. There's some additional information I found out that may prove to be useful for your decisions as officials for the town. We are told these systems will keep us safe, and we are told that if we aren't criminals, we have nothing to hide. We are told the system is secure and it is used by law enforcement, and we are told it is for our own good, and we are told it is just for speeding tickets. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you in plain English, I think we're being lied to. And I know this because these are the same things that were echoed to the public all those years ago regarding the Patriot Act. And at that time, folks were afraid. They were angry, and dare I say it, they were patriotic. And what was promised to criminals was forced not only on them, but their children and their grandchildren. And that was the first step. It was an axe to our Fourth Amendment. The government cannot seize or surveil a citizen without probable cause and without a warrant from a judge. And what do flock cameras have to do with this, you might ask? Hasn't the horse already left the barn? I'm here to tell you that this perversion will get worse if it is not met with sturdy resistance. What we are seeing now is a centralized surveillance system, and it is designed to intimidate, spy, and subdue the free people of this country and of this town. The Flock CEO has openly admitted he wanted these cameras on every street, and he wants them equipped with microphones and with facial recognition, and he wants it 24/7. What we have here is a naked attempt for a police state. It is innocent until proven guilty, and it is it is not innocent until proven guilty. It is guilty until proven otherwise. We have also been told that this system is secure and that only the law enforcement has access to its power. And again, I'm here to tell you, I think we're being lied to. This past December, Congress launched an investigation according to their work, it took less than 30 seconds and a gust of wind to hack the system. Anyone from outside can access this system, and as it turns out, anyone from inside the company can too. It was later found out that Flock employees were caught spying on children. And as for law enforcement, we're going to talk about that. One police officer in Kansas stalked his ex-girlfriend 164 times. In Georgia, another police officer used it to track and harass private citizens. And in Virginia, the police department used the system to stalk a man 526 times. And they did all this while he was suing the town for violating his constitutional right. I don't think these people sound like criminals, and I don't think I think that they're average citizens. Evil has always existed, but to grant such unfettered power at the tap of a button, I don't think that's safe, and I don't think that's secure. To be clear, I'm not against the rule of law. I'm against the abuse of law. And when we are encouraged to do business, and when we are encouraged to do business with with a company that fundamentally lies to our face and whittles down our rights, I take umbrage at that. And now I will get to the latter half of my concern, data centers. These cameras rely on AI to categorize and sort through footage. And in order to store this information and run this information, that's where these centers come in. So naturally, the more cameras, the more AI, and the bigger these buildings will become. So I just wanted to shed light a little bit about that, because it really seems like there's an effort to expand surveillance on regular civilians. And if I have to pick between a centralized surveillance system and a cop, I would rather have a cop. I wanted to just bring it to your attention, because since it's already been applied to these other towns, Beacon Falls too, like Beacon Falls is a small town, I think there will be an effort to push it onto other towns as well. And I think because they're trying to sell you a product, I don't think they'll be honest with you. And I don't think they'll be honest about that information that's given to you or the information that they're collecting. And I just wanted to say that because I felt like I needed to.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Any comments?
I'm searching for it. I just read an article today. I cannot find it, but they said Lowe's and Home Depot are using flock cameras now.
Yes.
For what?
Most of those stores also have facial recognition. They have people there for own shoplifters.
Shoplifters and stuff,
You
yeah.
enter the store and they're in your system.
Like the Home Depot in Orange, when you go to the checkout, there's a screen. You can see yourself, and they know who their shoplifters are.
God,
But
now I have to do my hair when I go to Home Depot.
Yeah. Flock cameras are being employed by Lowe's and Home Depot in their parking lots. Now they're saying it's for safety, but there's obviously a flip side.
Right. Well, I mean, safety is always the way they sell these things. But
Yeah.
I will point out, just as a historical note, which I'm not sure you're old enough to even have been here at the time, but the town of Bethany actually was one of the few towns around to vote against endorsing the Patriot Act. There was a town meeting. So there is precedent for this sort of activity here in this town. I have read articles about this. There's actually a town in, I think, Oregon that is now requiring all these cameras to be removed. And they've actually gone in and spray painted over them.
It's very dangerous because it's going to be used on everyone, and it's going to be 24/7. And also particularly for women, why it's very dangerous, 50% of women that get murdered get stalked first. So they could find out like what your car is, they can find out where it goes, wherever it is in the state, just like that cop did to find his ex. And that's extremely dangerous because this company is very un-American, but also they're lying to a lot of people. And people are trying to deal with the ramifications of this. And the reason why I wanted to chat with you and why I'm glad that the town was against the Patriot Act is because an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. Because this is really dangerous. This is not okay.
So this, as I said before, this is planning and zoning. So the camera locations would probably be more our first selectman's purview because she's our chief police officer as well. But the data centers would definitely be a zoning issue. And I will say that it's hard to imagine that Bethany would be a place to choose to put a data center because we run on well water and septic, and we have no place. We have a fair number of restrictions about putting hazardous chemicals into the ground or into the groundwater because it affects the aquifer for all of us. So I think, yes, from the zoning standpoint, thank you for making us aware. If someone comes here, I think it would be a hard sell even without your input. But I do appreciate that. This is the perfect venue for that. For the cameras, they're not likely to come here for permission. They're likely to go to local businesses and ask them to just put a camera in, or they may ask the town for a town-wide surveillance system.
Yeah.
And then it would come to a town meeting or at least to a selectmen's meeting. So you have already presented in front of the first selectman as well. So you've saved yourself a trip to the selectmen's meeting. But I mean, thank you for bringing it to our attention because this is a big deal. I have actually been reading about this on, and you're not alone in being concerned about this. And I think Palantir is asking for access to this data too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of one of those things where they're gonna get it because I think they the the flock company, they've been deliberately lying about who can access this data. And if it's easily hackable and, you know, whatever, they're gonna just take it. Everybody has like an internet footprint and we have like, okay, like your Gmail account, you have your GPS, it's linked to one account, that part's true. But to have it like centralized and to have cameras everywhere and to have somebody with such open ambition about spying on everybody, that's a problem. That's not good. So yeah, I'm glad you guys heard me out because I know it's a late evening and it was a tense evening because people had thoughts in the beginning. So, thanks for hearing me out. I appreciate it.
Thank you for bringing it.
Yeah.
Is there any other business? All right, then. Let me get back to my agenda. Next regularly scheduled meeting is June 3rd, 2026 at 7 p.m. And now I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay? We're good. Thank you all. Thank